Hi, fourth graders, it's Miss Leon again. We are going to be talking about finding equivalent fractions again, except this time we are going to be talking about doing this or finding equivalent fractions using division instead of multiplication or other ways to find it, like fraction strips. Remember, equivalent means equal. It's equal in amount. So I want you to remember that when we are doing this, we're going to be using factors. In our last unit, we talked about factors. So doing this division process, when you are doing it, it is important for you to look for common factors. That means that the numbers that you have in the fraction, you're going to look for some factors that they have in common. Remember, a factor, I wanted to go ahead and define this again. Factors are numbers you multiply together to make a product or a multiple. So again, I really feel like it's important for us to go back over this, again and again. It's like when we have this fact family pyramid, I'm gonna, maybe write this off to the side a little bit. The fact family pyramid right here. And when you have that product or that multiple, that's the largest number, and that always goes on top. Super important we remember this right there. And I want you to remember you have two factors, factor 1 and factor 2. Those are the two numbers that you are multiplying together to find that product or that multiple. Why is this important? When you're looking at a fraction, you're going to have a number in the numerator, a number in the denominator, and you're going to look at those two numbers and see if there is a factor between those numerators and denominators that is the same, and when you can use that. So let's go ahead and put this into practice real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to list factors of each of our numerator and our denominator. So here's the fraction that we are going to be working with, 18/24. And I'm going to highlight that because I really want you guys to remember that this is what we're starting off with, 18/24. And we're going to start listing the factors, or the two numbers that you can multiply together to get this product, 18, or the other product would be 24. So I'm going to start here, 18, and then 24. As I write that down incorrectly, I will fix that for you. I'm going to use the method. We didn't use it too much before, but it's going to be like that rainbow method. So I'm going to start with 18. I know that I always start with the factor of 1, and I know that 18 is also paired with 1. So I'm going to pair those up. 18 is an even number, so I'm going to use 2. 2 times what number equals 18? And that is 9. So 2 times 9. I'm going to try 3 next. 3 times some number, does that equal 18? Yes, it does. 3 times 6. I'm going to think about 4. 4 is not a factor. I cannot multiply 4 by anything and get to 18. And then I have 5, but this does not end in a 5 or a 0. So 5 does not go in here. And then we get ourselves back to 6. So these are all the factors of 18. Before I can do anything else, I need to find all the factors of 24. Again, we always start with the factor of 1, and that is multiplied by the number itself, whatever that number is. So I have 1, and that is paired with 24. 24 is even, so I know that 2 is a factor of 24, and that is 2 times 12. I'm going to pair them. 3 is also a factor of 24, and that is 3 times 8 is 24. I'm going to try 4, and I know that 4 times 6 are factors of 24, and again, 24 does not end in a 5 or a 0, therefore 5 is not a factor, and then I get myself back to 6. So I have found all of the factors of 24. Again, I'm going to be looking for common factors. Factors you see in these lists that are in this list and in this list on the bottom. And so I'm going to look for the ones that they have in common. So I see that 1s They both have a 1 in common. They both have a 2 in common. They both have a 3 in common. This one has a 4, this one does not. And I have a 6 in common. I don't see any other numbers that are in common or match that they have the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the largest numbers that they have, like in this list, what is the largest number they have in common? That largest number just happens to be 6. And you'll be talking a lot about this in 5th grade. So this is the greatest factor they have in common, or the greatest common factor. So now that I know that 6 is the greatest factor they have in common, I'm going to rewrite my original fraction, 18/24. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. What you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. And that number we're going to divide it by is 6, because that is what they have in common. 6, 6. 18 divided by 6, and also 24 divided by 6. What you do to the top, you do to the bottom. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. I'm going to continually remind you of this, so that way you never forget. So we're going straight across here. 18 divided by 6 is 3, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. So my equivalent fraction to 18/24 is 3/4. And it is a lot more, it is more easier to talk about, or it is easier to think in terms of 3/4 rather than 18/24. So I'm going to write this in another way, because sometimes you will see other teachers or even Miss Leon write this division problem like this, where you would say 18/24, and you'll see me do this equal sign right here. And I don't do it to confuse you, but I do it. And I want you to make sure that you see this in both instances. So I will do divided by 6 and divided by 6. And then that way you will end up with 3/4. And this is what they call when it is simplified. It looks more simple than this. It is easier to carry 3/4, right? 3/4 out of 4 than 18 pennies out of 24, something like that. It is much more manageable to use these smaller numbers instead of having big amounts here.